please call the roll.
President Richardson?
Here.
Trustee Burke?
Here.
Trustee Mitchell? Trustee Perkins?
Here.
Trustee Rigby?
Here.
Trustee Schaller? Trustee Thompson?
Here.
Okay, would you all please rise and join me in the pledge to our flag? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's always nice to say the pledge, but especially when we're veterans. Agenda item 4 this evening is approval of the minutes from the Committee of the Whole on September 3 and the minutes of the Board of Trustees meeting on the same date. Are there questions or edits for the clerk at this time? There being none, Chair would like a motion to approve in block agenda items 4A and B, minutes of the Special Committee of the Whole, and minutes of the Board of Trustees, both September 3, 2019. May I have the motion, please?
So moved.
By Trustee Rigby, seconded by Trustee Thompson. Thank you both. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstained because I wasn't here.
Abstained, I was not here.
Clerk will make needed recordation. Chair will allow the record to remain open for 5 business days for any subsequent necessary and conforming amendments submitted to the clerk. President's remarks is agenda item 5. We've got something really neat going, but before I do this, and I am very glad, Mr. Thompson, that you brought your niece here tonight with you. Jim is a proud alumnus of the University of Georgia. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
I am a Notre Dame alum, as is our treasurer, as is Trustee Burke's spouse and his 3 girls. And the Georgia Dogs spanked us Irish a couple of weeks ago, and I need to publicly acknowledge that they were the better men on the field that day, and my hat is off to a class act.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And I must tell you that Notre Dame was just a terrific opponent. And by the end of the season, they will be up there probably in the top 5 teams.
From your lips to God's ears. I also want to make mention I was at the Notre Dame game on Saturday, and Trustee Burke and his wife hosted a pregame, a tailgate at their home down there. And without having asked him, I want to congratulate Andy and his wife Chris on the engagement of their youngest daughter Molly. For reasons.
Now we need to talk about race.
Yeah. I offered to help your daughter pick the wine for the
Oh,
reception.
geez, that's right. That was very
That's
helpful.
what a friend can do. Agenda item 5A is Governor's Hometown Award presentation and proclamations, and I would like to yield to Trustee Thompson for that purpose.
Thank you, Mr. President. Okay, sure. So the Governor's Hometown Award is an annual operation. Karen, would you like to explain it?
No. Go ahead. You're doing great.
Speak into the mic, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will.
You can.
The Governor's Hometown Award is an annual award competition for organizations in the state of Illinois. 7 categories, one of the categories being veterans. And Village Administrator Karen Dalton-Lang and Lake Barrington Shores Executive Director Laura Nicolini decided to take the veterans of LPS's Braveheart Equine Therapy Program from 2018 and submit an application on it for the competition. The application was accepted, and they and Tom Gilder, president of the Veterans of LPS, and myself put together a presentation, mostly done by Laura Nicolini, by the way. And so we're going to show you that now. Would you stand up, please, Laura? And as you watch and hear the presentation, you'll note that a young lady by the name of Patty Boyd, who is a Gold Star mother, is featured in it, and she is here tonight. Patty, would you please stand up? Okay, so let's get started. Hello, my name is Jim Thompson. By the way, this is the presentation that we did in Springfield.
If those on this side would like to move over to that side, I think you'd see it better.
The veterans have not seen it before either, so.
Like this.
Not like this. Hello, I'm Jim Thompson, a trustee of the Village of Lake Barrington and an Army veteran here today, along with Tom Gilder, president of the Veterans of Lake Barrington Shores, also an Army veteran, to tell you about our event last August with the Brave Hearts organization. Much of what you will see and hear today comes from the folks that share our community's civic DNA of caring, giving, and compassion. Let me tell you about our village. The Village of Lake Barrington is home to almost 5,000 residents and supports 205 commercial and retail businesses, of which 40 are major enterprises. Lake Barrington Shores is the largest component of our village with 2,800 residents that enjoy a plethora of amenities, including an activity center, outdoor sports courts, a golf club, a lake for fishing or various water sports, and more. The Village of Lake Barrington is known for its open space initiatives and provides numerous savannas with paths and trails that meander throughout the village. This is Friar Farm, an open space initiative by the village and a non-working farm, where the village hosts special events and the site of the Brave Hearts Equine Therapy Program for veterans and their families. The event was created by the veterans of LBS. We have worked closely with the village on other projects and realized quickly that our goals could be reached easily and effectively using Friar Farm.
Actually, very little staff time with help getting the temporary use permit because it is government, you need a permit. But basically, our wonderful Friar Farm was just a perfect venue for this event. Friar Farm was purchased with open space dollars and then developed with an OSMA grant. So the area where the writers were writing and the gazebo was just so perfect for Brave Hearts.
Karen Dalton Lang is the village administrator and was unable to join us today. We would like to share her thoughts with you.
It was really hot, a very hot house. But I also recall the riders and how they were maneuvering with their horses, and it was just phenomenal. No, I did not, but I did learn that they truly care about their mission to bring joy, hope, and unlimited possibilities to all the people who use Brave Hearts.
The Veterans of LBS is a chartered club at Lake Barrington Shores, and we have a membership of 145 resident veterans. We began 15 years ago and have grown in size and purpose with the realization that we can and should do more. Using our mission statement as a guide, we regularly provide quarterly programs called Military Speakers Bureaus that brings to the community the many aspects of being in the military or being a veteran. We link to these worthy organizations because they provide primary frontline services of support to the military or veterans in Illinois. Our support is a variety of actions, conducting drives, providing help at events, and grants. We are quite proud of the Memorial Garden within the grounds of Lake Barrington Shores that provides residents and visitors a tranquil place to meditate or study the many stones placed in memory of LBS veterans. The view from the garden to the lake is serenity at its best. Why did we choose to highlight Bravehearts? Let's listen to Megan Hill McQueenie about their
At
mission.
Bravehearts, we see little miracles that happen out here every day, small moments where people find their greatness. We are always continually trying to do more programs, serve more people. With that comes our responsibility to find, more therapy horses, to find and recruit more volunteers to assist us to lead the therapy horses into sidewalk, and to find more generous donors that are passionate about our cause and support our mission, and to help us further our organization and where we'd like to go.
That's what started our efforts, using our members and coordinating with the village staff to resolve regulatory hurdles. We drew up an event program with Megan and her team that finally culminated on that hot August day. Leading off the event was Marge Gunner. She defined the soul of Bravehearts and how the bond between horse and human brings the needed therapy to those with mental or physical constraints.
I think the impact was to show the community that just doing some small things can really bring a lot of people together. The impact Braveheart had on our community, both the veterans and people at large, it was just phenomenal to see the love and the caring of that day.
We're sad to say Philip died 2 weeks after this picture was taken, after a long illness, but he did so enjoy hugging those donkeys.
That we need them, they look into your eyes and they can see your pain.
They're just a really neat animal. Something that is gentle, it's huge, and it wants to work with you. First time I started riding Bravehearts, it was great. I mean, it just makes you smile, Riding a horse, I've rode a horse since I was a little kid. Bravehearts program is a bunch of experienced, well-intended people getting together with horses to have life-changing results.
We see that the horses can help people physically, cognitively, emotionally. It's a really powerful tool, being able to use the horse in a setting that can also be therapeutic.
After I was discharged from the Army, the residual damages from the head injury were depression, had balance problems, short-term memory, long-term memory. As far as therapy goes for a head injury, they just told me it's just going to take time, and therapy was never brought up, ever. A humongous advantage to being here is I'm working on a drill team with other veterans who are also working on different things, whether it be psychological or physical. Using horses is a really effective way of doing it because they're so forgiving. Whereas with people, they can get fed up with one another and hold grudges and be offended. These horses have such a big tolerance, such a long tolerance, an enduring tolerance that we get to keep on working and fixing whatever we need to fix because they've got patience.
I am a Gold Star mother. Our son was killed in Afghanistan, August 19th, 2010. And that's what brought me here. I did not know how to heal. All I knew how to do was grieve. And they gave me the ability to start healing and also to show me that I can move forward. I know my son is with me. I want him to be up there and be proud of me. that I've accomplished things in my life that he never saw me accomplish. My husband and I have been working here. We're trying to update a lot of the things that need to be done here, and we do it for CJ because that's what he would want us to do.
It's been an honor to be able to share our story with you today. Brave Hearts was a wonderful experience for all, and more importantly, brought a strong understanding of the plight of our veterans. They have sacrificed a lot and may be enduring pain of injuries seen and unseen. It's everybody's responsibility to never forget that a veteran's path may not have been smooth. That path continues to be our focus and echoes the village's DNA, caring, giving, and compassion. At this point, as we conclude, we have some remembrances that we'd like to offer you. And at this time of the judging, I'd like Karen, please step forward, and Laura. We have two
When a veteran is finished with the Brave Hearts Equine program, they take one of the horseshoes and turn it into a heart. And that's what we have for the ladies this evening. And we have a special one for Gold Star Medal. Oh, not now, okay. I want to finish off the slideshow by showing you.
finish the presentation.
Yeah.
The reason I'm doing this is these were given to me for our creators, or Cecil B. DeMille and her producer. But it's of significance to let you know that every year Brave Hearts participates in a program called Trail to Zero. This year they went to the ground zero, 20 miles, and then went down to Washington, D.C. These two horseshoes were worn in those parades and are specific gifts to you for what you've done to highlight their organization.
Thank you.
But as Jay, come on, all the veterans, all the veterans. You get in the bed.
Boston, you'd be mad if I didn't do this.
With the roses in the middle, the thorns on the side.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Jim mentioned, this was very much a timed event. You had to get in, you had to do the presentation, and allow them time to do some Q&A. And one of the first things we asked as we walked in is, would it be possible to get a picture of you to show everybody that we were actually here? Well, that kind of felt like was not well accepted. And so we thought, it's going to be a long road. And at the end, when we gave them a challenge coin and the horseshoes, they were more than willing to stand there and talk with us, more than willing to share this photo. So there is proof we were in Springfield.
And just as a side note, after the 15-minute presentation, they normally were expected 10 to 15 minutes of Q&A. And ours evidently went a little longer because when we walked out of there, the young lady who was in charge said to the judges that they were way over time.
But we were delightful. No, we were delighted. Well, okay, that brings me, if I get one more minute, went down, Jim and I went down the night before and discovered that is not a pleasant place to go in the middle of the afternoon. So we practiced in the morning, and we had a few minutes before our time at 1:30 to go. So we decided to look around the Capitol building. And of course, it wasn't in session. And if you've ever seen a dead town, that is a dead town, and there's nobody in session. But we did discover, because it was hot, we discovered the National History Museum down there. And what was peculiar is we were not in our uniform, we were in our black slacks and white shirt. And we walked in, and as I approached the hostess, I said, "Hi, we'd like to see something." She said, "Oh, are you on a mission?" And I kind of looked at her and said, "Well, yeah, I guess we are." And she said, "We're going to make a presentation." And she had this real quizzical look on her. And I turned over and looked, and there's Jim standing with the Bible from the hotel. And we are very, very proud to be part of this endeavor. And I don't know what you're going to do next year. But if you want some help, we will help. But really.
Good job. Good job.
I mean, we were just sitting there trying to fend off those evil people.
We have a proclamation for Tom and for Laura and for Karen. It is, each of them are worded similarly, so I'm going to pass these over to Trustee Thompson to read the proclamation, and then afterwards, signed copies for Tom and Laura, and Karen will be up here for them to claim.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a proclamation from the Village of Lake Barrington honoring Thomas Gilder. Whereas the Veterans of Lake Barrington Shores Brave Hearts Program has been selected as a project winner of the Governor's Hometown Award in the category of Veterans and Military Families. Whereas the Governor's Hometown Awards program presents formal recognition to those who contributed to projects that improve their community's quality of life. Whereas Brave Hearts, a therapeutic writing and educational organization, and Veterans of Lake Barrington Shores joined together in August 2018 to create an interactive event to provide residents of Lake Barrington and its surrounding communities with the opportunity to learn about the benefits of equine-assisted therapy, which provides assistance to service members and veterans who face challenges such as PTSD. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the President and Board of Trustees of the Village of Lake Barrington, Lake County, Illinois, that the Village of Lake Barrington recognizes and thanks Thomas Gilder, President of the Veterans of Lake Barrington Shores, for his participation in presenting the Veterans of Lake Barrington Shores Brave Hearts program for consideration of the Governor's Hometown Awards in Springfield, Illinois.
Motion.
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Thompson, seconded by Trustee Schaller. The clerk will please call the roll.
Trustee Thompson?
Yes.
Trustee Schaller?
Yes.
Trustee Burt?
Yes.
Trustee Perkins?
Yes.
Trustee Rigby? President Richardson?
Yes, the other two proclamations read the same.
Yes, they do.
And are for Laura and for Karen.
Yes.
You know, those of you who know me well know that my political icon is the late President Ronald Reagan. And acquainted with a fellow who was on his Secret Service detail years ago in Washington. Not close, but friendly. And Reagan, of course, loved riding those horses. And he had one of his more famous, he had a cornball sense of humor once in a while, and he said, "There's nothing better for the inside of a person than the outside of a horse." And we have a neighbor whose son is autistic, and he's been in equine therapy for his autism for a number of years, and it's been a remarkable benefit. So we're awfully proud and grateful for this effort. It's a tremendous accomplishment by our veterans. And Mrs. Boyd, I must say that you have paid the ultimate sacrifice, and we will always be deeply grateful and honor your son's memory. God bless you. God bless you. Would anybody else like to claim the floor for a comment before we move forward?
I just have a quick comment. I had the privilege not too long ago to just make a trip to Normandy, France. First time ever. And just saying that actually gives me goosebumps. And spent about 4 days touring beaches and areas around there, talking with people, met many veterans. And it was actually kind of a transformative thing for me. It's like, you know, a person of my age who didn't live through that, didn't fully understand that, but meeting people and hearing the story was remarkable, and it just gave me this incredibly newfound awe, really, for what those people and all veterans had sacrificed to keep the free world free. And so it's profound, and if you haven't gone, it needs to be on your bucket list of things to do, because it just gives you a whole new sense of what it means to be American, what it means, you know, to be part of fighting for world freedom, and what was at stake, and what people did to lay down their lives for doing the great thing was remarkable. So I just want to say thank you for everything that you've done, your sacrifices, and for helping other veterans through the challenges that they face every day. It's a valuable service what you guys do, so thank you.
Thank you. Other trustees seeking recognition?
I continually am proud to say that the Veterans of Lake Barrington Shores is not only the largest organization within our community, but also the most active. And through the years, everything that they have done, from Memorial Day to Veterans Day to the speakers to events such as this, just is such a fine example of what an organization such as the Veterans can accomplish, as well as it's been one of the best binding between Lake Barrington Shores, which when I got on this board a number of years ago still was a kind of a we versus them, and has been such an instrumental force in making the village of Lake Barrington contiguous between LBS and the rest of the community, and you have really done a great job of doing that. It's the very fact you're here, but the very fact of all the activities that you do to encompass the entire community is great, and we're grateful for the guys that have done that, as well as for the service you provided before you became Veterans of Lake Barrington Shores. We appreciate all that too. And certainly thank Karen and Lauren for putting this together and further recognizing what you do and what you continue to do. Grateful for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Would other trustees like to be recognized? Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us this evening. This was a delight, and it's a privilege to acknowledge your sacrifices, and we look forward to continuing our great collaboration. And I got all your home phone numbers. Go. Agenda item 6 this evening is the first opportunity in the agenda for the public to address the board on non-agenda items. Is there anyone seeking recognition? Then agenda item 7 is the consent agenda. Illinois law permits municipalities to adopt by a single vote a unanimous roll call vote of the board relative to a group of designated ordinances, orders, resolutions, and motions placed together for voting in a single group. We've used this very successfully for a number of years, and this evening's agenda items under consent agenda 7A, consideration of a resolution regarding closed session minutes and audio recordings, and B, approval of an agreement with SKC Construction Incorporated for practicing. Chair will yield to council for an explanation of 7A and to the administrator for an explanation of 7B.
The Open Meetings Act requires that the village should maintain minutes, and it also requires that the village board at least twice a year review the minutes that it's previously approved to determine which of those minutes may be released at this time. And the village always does that. It's rare that we ever recommend the release of those session minutes because usually those are confidential matters, and that confidentiality really doesn't change. But that's what this resolution is for, to comply with the statute. The Illinois Attorney General's office, the Public Access Council, they don't really care whether or not that we release minutes. They only care that we review them twice a year.
Are there questions for the council? There being none, Chair will recognize the administrator for purposes of explaining 7B.
Sure. As you know, we like to maintain our streets so that they stay healthy and have a long pavement life. And one of those ways of helping extend our pavement life is by crack sealing. So you may have seen as you've driven around town in certain areas where once the pavement wears a little bit, you'll see some squiggly black tar in the cracks. So that's there to help prevent water from getting down into the cracks, which then we have winters here in Illinois and it freeze thaws, and that's the cycle of how pavement ages and eventually degrades. So crack sealing helps extend the life of the pavement. I asked our HR Green, who's done our last couple of years of road programs, to reach out to 3 different contractors who do crack sealing. They contacted AC Pavement, BEM Pavement Maintenance, and SKC Construction. AC Pavement declined to an opportunity to submit a proposal. SKC was the low quote, and SKC is currently performing the joint crack sealing bid with Cary, Algonquin, and Fox River Grove, and I hope next year we can get in on that bid early, but they agreed to honor it for us as well this year. So the following subdivision streets that we're looking to crack seal this year are Farm Trails, Chesapeake, and Pine Hills. In addition, Harbor Road would be done from Route 22 to Cuba. Part of that section of Harbor is under Cuba Township jurisdiction, and they've agreed to reimburse us for their section of the road for crack sealing. So it's a nice way to work with our partners at Cuba Township, since they were not issuing a crack seal bid this year on their streets. I requested a motion to approve an agreement with SKC in the amount not to exceed $19,000 and to execute that necessary documents.
Great. Are there questions for council or for the administrator? The chair would like a motion to approve and block agenda items 7A and 7B as stated in the recommended actions of the consent agenda. May I have a motion, please? Trustee Burke, second, please.
Second.
Trustee Scheller, thank you both. Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Burke?
Yes.
Trustee Scheller?
Yes.
Trustee Perkins? Yes. Trustee Rigby? Aye. Trustee Thompson?
Yes.
President Richardson?
Yes. Before we go further to the treasurer's report, I just want to acknowledge our first responders in the back. God bless you guys. Thank you for being here. We appreciate your service as patriots as well as our veterans who are here. So thank you both for being here. And there have been occasions where this room has been hot and violent, so it's good to have you guys here. We'll move to agenda item 8, the treasurer's report. Mrs. Hirsch, please.
Good evening. So you have before you the financial statements for the 4 months ended August 31st, 2019.
This is the 4th month of our fiscal year, which means we're a third through our fiscal year. We'll start by looking at the flash report on page 2. You'll see we have assets of $2,431,000. We have current liabilities of $408,000. And our equity is $2,023,000. So that our equity plus our liabilities equals our assets at $2,431,000. Revenue for the first 4 months of the fiscal year is $1,038,000. Our expenses are at $784,000, giving us net income of $255,000. That compared to this point last year. At this point last year, we were at $299,000. Now, I've talked off and on about those differences over the past year, this year versus last year. Two of the differences, which kind of will stand out, is last year we did receive an $88,000 distribution from the Monarchy Trust. Just this past month, we did receive a $96,000 OSLAT grant payment. That was an early, I think it was a progress payment, Karen, that came in this past month. So we'll have those differences basically offsetting each other going forward. The largest difference we will have when we're noticing, we're going to keep an eye on that, is in building permit revenue. We're about down $90,000 this year from last year. We've just had 2 new single-family homes to date this fiscal year. At this point last year, we had 12. So you can see the difference there. So we'll keep an eye on that. Eight in the first month last year. Last year there was 12 in the whole year, 8 in those first 4 months. We do have 12 in our line item budget, so we are very interested to see that comes through. I think it's going to be a tough one, but we'll keep an eye on that for this year. So go below the bolded line in our flash report, you'll see where we break out our extraordinary items. This month we had $10,000 in what we call non-MFT extraordinary expenses, and that was for a culvert replacement and some ditch repair and a perforated pipe installation. So if we remove those, what I call extraordinary items, our regular operations net income is $270,000, and compared to last year, $304,000. So we can flip forward to page 12 and 13. That just is a quick look at our actual budget. Once again, we are only about a third through our fiscal year. Just to highlight what I mentioned before about building permits, on this page, if you go right under permits and licenses, and 2 down is building permits, you'll see at this point we're at $57,000, and it's just 21% of our budget. So we're trending a little bit low there. We'll keep an eye on that, as I mentioned. Total revenues to date are 34% actual to budget. As you can see, about 3/4 of the way down. And then on page 13, at the very bottom of the page, you'll see total expenditures at 24% actual to budget. Do we have any questions on general fund before I move on? I know I kind of went through that pretty quick. With the exclusion of building permit revenue, everything else is performing according to budget. Okay, page 14, we'll see the motor fuel tax fund. There's $296,000 in current assets. There's no planned fiscal year expenditure from that fund. We'll grow that for another year before we use that for road work. We had some nice news this past month. We did receive 2 deposits from the motor fuel tax fund. Our normal distribution was $9,126. As you recall, back in July, the state of Illinois instituted a new motor fuel tax, and that was to go to the Transportation Renewal Fund. We received our first check this month, and that was for $7,410. So that's about 80% of what we received for the regular MFT revenue. IML initially was using a 50% estimate, so happily it's much higher, and we'll wait to see what happens in the months to come to see if that's going to keep pace with that, but that was good news. Any questions on the MFT fund? Okay, we can turn to page 18, that's the water sewer fund. We have net current assets of about $1,555,000 in that fund, and we like to keep adequate cash reserves on hand for any needed expenditures. This year, our plan does call for $180,000 in planned expenditures in the water sewer fund. And that's all I have until I get to the accounts payable. Any questions on any of the funds? there's about 5 or 6 unusual invoices on the warrants, and I'd like to point those out. They have all been approved and are part of the current budget, so there's nothing that's unusual, but just, not something you would see on a regular basis. The general fund, Casey Printing, $1,016.38. That was for printing and postage on the barn stop postcards that recently, before the recent barn stop. Sharp Architects for $1,797.25. That was masonry site visit here with Evan Masonry at the Village Hall. For the Water Sewer Fund, Comcast Cable Communications, $9,370. And that was the SCADA Security System Communications that were put in place. Energetics for $8,470, and that was part of the SCADA system upgrade, so those were kind of going tandem, and both of those were in the budget. And Water Services for $8,085 for backflow testing. Warren B, you'll see some invoices for Client First Computing Consulting. The larger ones, $3,575 and $1,425. That's all work connected with the Village Hall wireless network and upgrades we've been working on here in Village Hall. And finally, there's a bill for $20,893.20 to corrective asphalt materials, and that was for reclamite application on Old Barrington Road.
And Anderson Road.
Oh, excuse me, thank you.
Can we have a question about that?
Yeah.
So, the original paving of that road was the school what? Impact fees.
Yeah.
But we didn't have enough money to cover this, or that wouldn't cover this.
We talked
This
about it,
application.
there was such a small amount that the school impact fees are pretty much up to date at this point.
Yeah, 11 accumulated.
Yeah, so they're accumulating so that we could do, like in the future, another project.
Okay.
This was budgeted for as well.
Okay, thanks.
Are there questions for the treasurer? Thank you. For the benefit of the record, we had a committee of the whole prior to this, and I want to thank Debbie and you and Randy and Karen again for an awful lot of hard work on the multi-year budget. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. There being no questions, Chair, I'd like a motion block to approve the treasurer's report. A, approve the financial statements as of August 31, 2019. B, pay bills in the amount of $242,697.24 as listed on the accounts payable warrant dated October 8, 2019. And C, pay bills in the amount of $61,026.45. Thank you, Lisa. As listed on the accounts payable warrant B dated October 8, 2019. May I have a motion to approve the block?
So moved.
Trustee Rigby, seconded by Trustee Thompson. Clerk, will please call the roll.
Trustee Rigby?
Aye.
Trustee Thompson?
Yes.
Trustee Burke?
Yes.
Trustee Perkins?
Yes.
Trustee Schaller?
Yes.
President Richardson?
Yes, we can move to agenda item 9, which is the administrator's report.
Sure. Last week I attended the Lake County Forest Preserve District Strategic Planning Session, and for those of you that may have missed it in the peak, I thought it was very interesting because they started with their 100-year vision plan, and then they have a 25 to 50-year type of range, and then the group that they brought together was for their 5 to 10-year goals. And because we're a community that's involved with the Lake County Forest Preserve District, they invited us to attend, and it was led by a professional moderator and everything. So it was a very interesting afternoon to spend with them, and I liked how they were looking like way far ahead as well. So that kind of goes into what we've been doing with our multi-year budgeting as well. I want to thank ComEd publicly for their $500 donation to the Barnstop community event. That was very gracious of them. Also, just a FYI, Go Green Barrington is going to be hosting their Go Green drinks on the road October 23rd at 7 o'clock at All American Reclaim in Lake Barrington. And since All American Reclaim is recycling at its best for home improvements, right? They're going to host their meeting there and give some public education and outreach at that location. Also, Trustee Thompson, will you be talking about your judgeship at the Onion, or at the podium? Or do you want me to talk about it?
Why don't you talk?
Okay, so our very own Onion Pub won first place in the Best Burger Contest hosted by Partners for Progress at Camlin Sportsplex a couple weeks ago. Trustee Thompson was one of the non-biased judges, and it was a blind tasting, so I'm sure you didn't know which one was the Onion Pub, but we're so glad they won. And Partners for Progress is another therapeutic riding staple located in Wakanda.
I would just like to say one thing about the judging. There were several of the businesses that provided opportunities to taste, and we did get an awful lot of bourbon.
Nice. A fringe benefit for being a
Yes.
Great. I also wanted to let everybody know that Citizens for Conservation and Blue Stem Ecological Services are scheduled to start this Friday with the planting of the trees and the shrubs for our Healthy Hedges program along Old Barrington Road adjacent to Village Hall property. You may recall that we received $7,000 in grant money from Open Lands in the 2019 ComEd Green Region program for that work. That's it. Any questions?
Questions for the administrator? All right, there being none, we can move to agenda item 10, which is the clerk's report.
Okay, I have a few more items than usual this month. Halloween is coming, on October 31st, trick-or-treat hours will be from 3 to 7 p.m. Another announcement will be Cuba Township will be doing their township-wide brush pickup starting the week of October 21st from 7:30 to 3 p.m. The service is for minor cleanup. No call-ins are necessary. They will be going street by street, and they're asking that all brush is out by 7 a.m. Monday morning. Next, Cuba Township will be hosting their fall shred event on Saturday, October 26th from 8 to noon, rain or shine. That's in conjunction with their fall festival. Another event is Bakehouse Annual Private Well Water Testing. Will be from October 28th through November 1st. Bakehug encourages households with private wells to test for bacteria and nitrates annually. Residents can purchase test kits at Bakehug, Member Village, and township offices like the Village of Lake Barrington. Kits can be purchased for $15 during regular business hours. And the last announcement is that no yard waste stickers will be needed in November. Does anyone have any questions? A lot of this information is on the website also.
Thank you, Lisa. There being no question, we can move to the reports of the standing committees. Under A and under D, my two branding and comms and external relations. Brian McLaughlin, our consultant on communications, has done a press release on the Veterans LBS Award with the Governor's Hometown Award. And he and I are working on some communications that were part of the conversation in the prior meeting, budget issues. And on external relations, this is really not related to the village, but it is interesting, and it is kind of in that theme of external things. I attended a conference in the UK called the Big Tent Ideas, and the whole idea was to get people at divergent points of view under one tent and try to come up with solutions to common problems. And we all watch the news, and our cousins across the pond are struggling with their politics as much as we seem to be struggling with ours. It's actually great fun for our Canadian neighbors who like to make fun of the two of us a lot. So it was interesting. They're tackling a lot of the same things. And what beyond that, community relations, B, Trustee Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, the veterans of Lake Barrington Shores had a meeting with Senator Dan McConkey to discuss doing a Veterans Jamboree in 2020. The idea is to bring together a variety of veteran benefits and programs. And we'll be asking to use Friar Farm for that event. And the plan is to acquire sponsors to accommodate live music and any other entertainment and food that would be part of the event. And so we'll be moving along rather slowly on that, but we'll get back to you. For the 2020 Friar Farm events, there's been discussion about the number of events, and at this point, we feel that there should be a minimum of 2 entertainment events plus the Jamboree. And under discussion, as we continue to plan, we're including ideas to acquire sponsors for those events as well. And speaking of sponsors, the village would like, through Administrator Karen Lang and I are working on sponsors for the trees to be planted at Friar Farm by the road. So we're calling upon all the trustees and president of the village to come forward with some sponsorship money.
Okay.
And also, of course, our attorney of record. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Is that considered a shakedown, Jim?
It's a quid pro quo.
You got right to the heart of it. Just tell me where and when and how much. 11C is Economic Development, Trustee Burke.
Thank you. In my extended absence over the last few months, I wanted to reassure people that the Economic Development Committee is alive and well, continues to meet either in person or through conference call. I wanted to personally thank Kathleen Scott from Scott Partners and Karen Dalton-Lang for being catalyst to keep that moving. I know that they reported the last couple of months on some of the current business outreach, which, as you know, is an important and increasingly important part of our economic development. And I just wanted to take a minute to reinforce that the committee's charge, not only being in bringing new sources of revenue to the village, but also ensuring that existing businesses are well supported by this community, have the things that they need, the support to be successful, and that they continue to thrive and grow and help contribute to our overall retail tax sales revenue generation. We do, I want to just say again publicly, we welcome All-American Reclaim. Karen Dalton referenced that. One of our newest businesses into the village, taking over the site at Pepper and Northwest Highway, the former Pasquazi's landscape area. And so these guys are in the reclaimed wood business, and they have now expanded dramatically, which we hope brings them the ability to grow their business, and we want to be good partners to them. And I again thank Karen Dalton-Lang. There was a lot of work that went into helping them get on their feet, and I hope that in the final analysis that they would say that Lake Barrington was a good partner and bent over backwards to help them get themselves established, which is the reputation that we want. So they moved from another community that won't be named. They needed more size. They were looking for greater collaboration, and we gave it to them. So next month we'll come in with a much more comprehensive report. There are some very intriguing things going on out there, and we continue to, as we learn and educate ourselves, we continue to refine our approach to what we're doing in this area. And I think we'll talk both in the committee of the whole as well as up here next month and get into that in greater detail. That's my report.
Thank you, and all of us know that even in your absence, you were continuing to work on these things, and we're grateful for that. We miss you now, but we appreciate your persistence. 11E, Finance, HR, and Administration, Trustee Rigby.
Thanks, Mr. President. I had just one item, and that's just some comments about the staff and the health of the barns out there. The veterans of LBS, as always, under the tutelage of John Shower, handled the parking. We had a pretty good turnout. I'm not sure how much we brought in. We charged $10 per car, coming in, but I think it was pretty good because Karen and I laid out the parking lot. We had to park an extra row because we had so many cars there. One of the things about this particular barn stop is people didn't eat once they came. They just stayed there. And the kids were having a lot of fun, and it was a good time. Thanks especially to Karen, Debbie, Lisa, and Peggy that were there for the setup on Friday, the takedown on Sunday morning, as well as the barn stomp itself. And so trustees there, Sheller, Thompson, and Perkins were all there helping out during the barn stomp. So it was a good feel. That's all I have.
Thank you. I regret having missed it. My godson got married that weekend out in Southern California, and so I was unable to attend, but I hope Mother Nature treated you well. Good weather.
I'd just like to make one observation, if I may. And that is that every year our executive assistant provides the name tags, and we had so many people that we ran out of name tags.
That's a great problem.
Yes, and it's one, that means, obviously, of course, that we had better attendance than we had in previous years.
As my wife oversaw the s'mores thing along with a few other volunteers, and we ran out of marshmallows.
Well, I heard that was.
That was Mom Lang's fault. Stopping those things down.
Trustee Mitchell is not here to report on 11F, open spaces and village facilities. Administrator, are you anything?
Just that we signed a contract with the masonry contractor, and he's expected to come out this month and do, I don't want to call it top pointing, but masonry caulking fixes, and the sharp architects that Treasurer Hirsch mentioned before, they put together the scope and selection of the winning bid, and are overseeing all of that. So.
All right. Questions for the administrator on behalf of Trustee Mitchell? All right, 11G, Public Safety and Gated Communities, Trustee Shaw.
Thank you, President Richardson. I reiterate frequently that we are fortunate in the village of Lake Barrington that our police department is the Lake County Sheriff's Department, and that has become even more obvious in the last month or so. I get a report every month from the sheriff about arrests and various other things, and you see a lot of Beach Park, Waukegan, Zion, various other things. So when something like a break-in happens within the village of Lake Barrington, or even within what we believe to be the secure environments of Lake Barrington Shores, people become very much alarmed. And I want to thank Lieutenant Scott Kirk and the Sheriff's Department for becoming very much involved in what is going on, and perhaps Lieutenant Kirk can bring us up to date as much as you can about where we are with that.
Sure, yeah, we did have a couple incidents in Lake Barrington Shores, as well as there was some additional property crimes in the subdivision north of the hospital. And our investigations division is aggressively investigating all these incidents. However, I cannot comment publicly on what those investigations entail, but they are actively investigating those incidents. Additionally, I would ask that the residents of Lake Barrington, if you do see something, please report it immediately. Do not hesitate. We will gladly come and check whatever it is that you find and take a look. And it may have something. It may be something suspicious. It may be nothing, but it's better off that we decide it's nothing rather than it turns out to be something that we could have intercepted. So. Having said that, I have nothing further to report. But
well, we thank again the Sheriff's Department for getting involved. They've increased patrols
yes,
in the area. I know I've seen the squad in LBS more frequently as of the last couple of weeks. Do have a detective that is assigned to the cases that are going on down here. She and Deputy Buckberger, who a couple of years ago we tried to do kind of get a neighbor-to-neighbor thing going in the village about awareness and things like that. They had an excellent presentation to a standing room only Lake Barrington Shores Rec Center attendance last week, and handed out things like this on property theft and on identity theft, and what you shouldn't be embarrassed, just as Lieutenant Kirk has indicated. If you see anything suspicious, pick up the phone and call the Sheriff's Department. In LBSs, don't call the main gate, call the Sheriff's Department, and they will respond, and there's nothing too large, too small. They much better know about it before, during, rather than a week after and say, oh yeah, I did see something suspicious last week. By that time, obviously, any investigation is extremely more difficult. So again, I harp on it a lot, but I think we're very fortunate that the village of Lake Barrington has, as our police department, the Lake County Sheriff's Department, of the resources that you provide and the service that you provide to our community, and have always been responsive to anything that we call upon you to do. So thank you. Please take that back to the troops and everyone else. Lieutenant Carrick is the day shift commander. Member Chris Thompson is now our chief deputy he lives in the village. So we've got some good people right here that are watching over us, and we appreciate it. So.
Trustee Scheller. Let me also say that the sheriff has elected to expand our community services division, so that presentation that Deputy Buckberger gave to Lake Barrington Shores, that's available to, if there's a homeowners association within the village that would like us to come out and talk to them, we absolutely can. It's just anybody that wants it, we can arrange it and, you know, provide that kind of information to any group.
Appreciate it. So, thank you very, very kindly.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Questions for the lieutenant before he
Sure.
Yes. Please. First of all, thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you.
Your presentation, how like, can you give a little, like how long is your presentation? Is it?
So it all depends.
If you were doing it, say, for a homeowners association.
You know, I would venture to say they'll do anywhere between, 45 minutes to an hour and a half.
And then they did a Q&A afterwards.
Depending on what kind of content the homeowners association is interested in, that, obviously they'll cater it to what it is that you would be looking for.
Sure. Okay.
I've gotten in the habit, because of the good advice you've given us, when I'm driving out of the community somewhere, if I see something amiss, even if it doesn't necessarily appear sinister, I've just gotten in the habit of calling the administrator and saying, would you ask the Lake County Sheriff to just take a pass, just to make me feel better?
They know my voice now.
We're happy to come out and take a look. And like I said, if it turns out to be nothing, everybody's happy. But if it turns out that, we've come across something that we would have never found if you didn't call, I mean, that's a win for everybody.
Amen. Thank you, Lieutenant.
Thank you, Gary.
And just kind of as an example, Administrator Long and I each receive a report from the Sheriff's Department about their activity in our community, and the most recent was August, but just, you pay for the basic of what we get. They also do 77 business checks in that month, 219 extra patrols of subdivisions, which is not billed extra, but that's part of what they do. 38 sector patrols. I mean, it's amazing what service we have compared to some of the surrounding communities and what they are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So thank you very much for what you provide to us. One of my other activities is obviously the fire department. Would you like to come up and tell us what's happening in the district? Sure, why not? Have a new fire engine, don't you?
We do have a new fire. That's probably the most that's happening. I can introduce myself. My name is Dan Fry. I'm one of the battalion chiefs of Wakanda Fire. I've been with the department for a little while, about 30 years. So started as a young lad when I was 19. So as far as stuff, like the trustee said, we just got a new fire engine. We just put it in service last Saturday. A little push-in ceremony at our Station 2. Had everybody come out, and kind of a little traditional thing you do, and you kind of push it in there where you actually had it running, because to physically push it in might be a little hard. It's a 2019 Rosenbauer, or one of the largest fire engine manufacturers in the world. They do everything in-house. They build it all themselves. They do their chassis up. Runs for our gearheads. It's 400 horsepower Cummins motor in that. And we kind of built it to cater to our area up in the Island Lake area, but it also will fulfill needs throughout our district. It's a shorter wheelbase vehicle, very similar to what we have before, so we're excited to have it. Any questions for me?
It was was Island Lake, and that was Saturday, and I was honored to be present to watch him push this engine in.
Oh,
I did not help push it. I figured I'd be run over by it. It's much better than sitting there watching it. But it was impressive, really was. And it's interesting that that engine is built in a community of 300, I think, in North Dakota. And that's all the entire community does. They build fire engines. And I think everybody in town takes part in it. It's amazing. Beautiful piece of machinery, too. It doesn't want a little bit better than engine number 1, which is also up there.
Nothing beats engine number 1. We still have an original fire engine. It's a 1931 Persh. Starts up just with the turn of the key and, well, no key, just turn of the battery switch. But yeah, she still purrs like a kitten. She's got only about 12,000 miles on her. So. Pride engine.
We appreciate again, the Wakanda Fire Protection District that takes care of half of our community, but also obviously with mutual aid takes care of everything if the need arises. So I'm honored to join you for your meetings when I can, and appreciate the department. Matter of fact, the department brought an engine and I believe 1 vehicle SUV to our barn stump last week. And not only did they, traditionally, the departments will leave the truck up by the entryway so they get out in case of emergency. It was suggested, the department suggested, well, how about if we pull it down next to where the food is being served? And it was a hit. The kids were all over it. They let them climb it. And then you had some plastic hats from the ceremony that they gave those out. The kids were wearing those around. It was fantastic, so we appreciate the department being there for that as well.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, one of their trustees, Paul Dietzen, passed away in the last month. I think he served on the Cuba Township Board. So our regrets and condolences to the department for that. And likewise, I go to the Barrington Countryside Fire Protection District. You will recall, I think I mentioned a couple of months ago, that there was an individual in Lake Barrington Shores that had the most fantastic miniature fire truck collection I've ever seen. And what to do with it? I suggested to Barrington Countryside, would you like to have this? Because the gentleman now lives at Lake Barrington Woods. And they met with that owner. They have now prepared and they're going to put up a huge display in the department. And with all of these, there must be a couple hundred of them, with a plaque that thanks them for providing those. So it's kind of neat. A collection like that otherwise might just get thrown out will be contained in a neat place, and the person that had it will be recognized for giving it. So that was kind of a neat aside to that. And then I'll go to the public into the gated communities. I tried to contact Abby Kane. She's the new community sales manager for Tallgrass. Left a couple of words, but as I can get on their website, they have 3 current buildings units available for sale, 2, 3, and 4 bedroom. They range in price from $549.9 to $729.9. And they're all, one is a ranch, the others are 2 stories. So I don't know how many they've actually sold, but they have 3 more that are available with a lot of land. So we'll try to catch up with her. Enclave is the Enclave in Lake Barrington Shores you've heard about with regards to veterans, with regards to what's happening with the activity, and life goes on. So thank you.
Perfect. Questions for Trustee Scheller? Okay, agenda item 11H, roads and infrastructure, Trustee Perkins.
Well, Trustee Rigby, thank you very much. And Trustee Rigby and I both recently, we attended the Metropolitan Planning Council's Drinking Water 1, 2, 3 Academy. And we just learned the latest practices for communities to help manage their drinking water. It was very interesting. Yes, I think I brought back some literature for you too. So, yeah, it's it was a good academy. That is all.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to interject. So we were talking earlier about the barn stomp, and for those of you that weren't there this year, Trustee Perkins jumped in and really organized all of the kids' games. We did a little bit different this year. We had them all in the shed instead of the barn. And not only did she organize everything and make all these games, she brought 8 or 9 volunteers from the junior high that helped, and that was just a tremendous help on the staff's burden for doing that. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
There's no old business under 12 or ordinances under 13 or resolutions under 14 or new business under 15. So we are on 16, second opportunity in the agenda for the public to address the board. No one seeks recognition. There is no closed session. My favorite motion, Chair would like a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Rigby, seconded by Schaller. All those in favor?
Aye.